Hello, Defender Nation. This is John DeGroat from Campus Ministries, and I want to continue in our series of Test to Testimony for our Dordt devotion times together. Today I'm looking at the life of Moses, and we're focusing in on chapter 34, where God brings Moses up Mount Nebo, and it's about time for him to die. And God shows him the whole land of Jericho and the land that he promised to the Israelites, and he says, look, you can look on this with your eyes, but you're not going to be able to enter it. Gee, that seems kind of harsh. But earlier, if you remember, Moses was in the desert of Meribah, and God told him to speak to the rock, and he struck it instead out of anger. And God said, because you dishonored me in this way in front of all of the people, I'm not going to let you go into the land. And as that dawned on me, I thought, man, that's harsh. Like, doesn't that seem like too much? I mean, you drew Moses out of the Nile, you saved him from the crocodiles, then you brought him out into the desert after being raised in Pharaoh's palace, and you spoke to him in a burning bush, and you told him to go to Egypt and deliver the people. He didn't want to. And then you brought him out into the desert with all these people. These people are stubborn and belligerent. They didn't want to be there. He didn't really want to lead them, and yet he's doing it faithfully. And this whole time, he's kind of in this situation that I'm not sure he would have signed up for, leading these people. And he makes one mistake, and you're going to deny him the very thing that you told him he was setting out to do? Man, that seems so cold. And as I wrestled on this passage with the Lord, one day it just kind of dawned on me, and I felt like he just spoke to me, and he said, John, he says, don't you realize that Moses walked with me? Moses got to see me in a burning bush. He heard my voice. There was that time when my glory passed in front of him. Moses was alive and saw the glory of God. There was times when he would spend in the tent of meetings, and his face would become like glow. His face would glow as he would come out, and he would scare the people, so he'd have to put a bag over his head. He spent time on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights with no food or water while God chiseled the 10 Commandments. And it says that Moses walked with God as a man walks with his friend. And I realized that, sure, he didn't get the houses or the land or the mountains and the lakes, but he got the one who made the mountains and the land and the trees and the lakes. And I was just taken back as I realized that the treasure of Moses' life was not the promised land. God was the treasure of Moses' life. And his presence and walking with him was the most precious thing to him. And I was challenged in my own life and realized, man, how disappointed do I get when my circumstances don't line up with where I think they should. This whole COVID business where we're confined to our houses and we're denied certain rights and we're having to say no to things. It feels like we're being robbed of stuff. Maybe, as you pursue your degree, as you look for a career or spouse, you have your heart set on something. That's probably a very good thing from God. But has it become the treasure? And has it become the pursuit of our life? Have we really lost track of the fact that God and his presence is the most precious thing about us? Friends, I'm encouraging you today, just a reminder, to reevaluate. And if you want your test to become a testimony, then we need to live out of that place of relationship with Jesus. And that if he isn't the treasure, then all of those other things are never going to satisfy. They're never going to bring us the thing that we need deep in our hearts. And so Moses' test became his testimony, in that he realized the true treasure of his life in walking with God and being with him all of his days.